So So I hear you say that Tractatus has been set to music. Is that right?
Yes, I've heard that. I think you can find it on YouTube somewhere. It's like a conductor conducting music to it.
Oh right, it's not like a big old like Lloyd Webber production with
that would be good.
People dressed up as Ludwig.
Well, the film is good. Have you ever seen the film Wittgenstein?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the guy who plays Wittgenstein, he's that guy you sometimes see in films.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, he's that guy. He was in
we love that guy.
Hot Fuzz, and he's the policeman with the dog.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see him in my head, but I can't quite.
I think he pops up in things like maybe Game of Thrones, something like that. He's always that guy. Yeah.
Everybody popped up in Game of Thrones. Ed Sheeran popped up in Game of Thrones.
Yes, I remember watching that. Yeah.
Notoriously. So we haven't been around for a while. We took a bit of a Christmas break, or winter festival break, whatever your celebration of choice.
Festivus.
Festivus, yeah, for the rest of us. I'm finishing up. Please. I am kind of still indulging at the moment, but I've got that. You got that wonderful kind of post-Christmas excuse, haven't you? That I'm just finishing up stuff. Needs finishing. Needs using up. Danny. So we've got some Stollen here. Needs using up. I've got like a keg of beer. Needs using up. Whole pheasant. Needs using up.
Well, I bought the weird post-Christmas mince pie packet. You can get them at like 30p or something now.
Oh yeah.
And
it's weird, doesn't it?
It is weird eating those, even though I love them so much. It's like this is just wrong,
It does seem a bit out of joint, doesn't it, to do that? I don't know why.
I think it's when all the decorations come down, when it's all finished, there's a sadness, there's an emptiness and a hollowness.
There is.
And I think that's tied with that. I think.
Welcome to my life. Yeah.
So I wanted.
Sorry. Do you eat them kind of? Do you eat them up front with no kind of remorse, no guilt, no shame, or do you kind of sit in the cupboard under the stairs, or do you kind of wait until the lights are out, the curtains drawn, and eat them so that nobody knows?
No. There's no shame whatsoever.
You don't get your kind of family saying, "Danny, where are you? Why is the door locked?" When you're in the bathroom.
You'd only get into that if it was like in one sitting. I think the maximum I could eat is 3. So if went up beyond that, then it's definitely under the stairs time.
Yeah, that's when you need your family around you to kind of come up with an intervention and just say, look, we love you, Danny, but 3 mince pies and it's not good, man. Seriously.
Yes, so I wanted to, as we've discussed before, I wanted to give our kind of new sessions a real kind of practical edge if we can. So what I mean by that is, philosophy is people are often down on philosophy because it's just it's a black hole and there's nothing can be done with it, And I love the scene in Reggie Perrin's boss says, philosophy doesn't get the washing up done.
Yeah. I remember my grandmother particularly saying to me, what do you do with that then? So I was explaining, quite excited.
Yeah.
Because, I was excited. I just finished A-levels and it was all kind of your head full of knowledge and, your heart full of dreams. And you just think, yes, I'm going to go out and I'm going to explore knowledge and explore the universe in my mind. And philosophy seemed very real to me as a teenager. I think I think it's because I think it's the job of, I know it sounds a bit crass, but I think it's a job of youth to be idealistic and enthusiastic and excited about ideas and about change and about that sort of stuff. When you get to kind of our age, I think we've done that. I'm not saying it's not important to be done, but I think we don't have the energy. So in the face of the reality of the phenomenology of the world, we just don't have the energy to barrel through with a kind of hope that kind of fresh minds can bring to stuff. So I can remember being very enthusiastic about this and saying to my grandmother, "Oh, I'm going to study philosophy," and she said, "What are you going to do with that then? exactly. And it was almost like, it's almost as if, as far as my family were concerned, I'd started like some sort of white slave trade, or I was going into the kind of porn industry. Nobody would talk about what I did. So what's Mike doing these days? Oh, how are you? Some nice weather we're having. So, yeah, so how's Mike these days? He's fine. Nobody wants to say, I'm sorry, he's doing the philosophy. We're all very ashamed.
But for me, it was just like the people who heard it, it's like, oh wow, I think I mentioned it's the very first podcast we did. I remember a friend talking to a friend about it. Oh, that's deep. And but there was an angle, isn't it, to doing it, because it does sound good. It does sound
well. It did.
impressive.
I mean, it did have some. I think we've mentioned this before. It had real cachet. And amongst my my circle of friends back then, it was a genuine badge of valor. Oh man, you're going to go study philosophy. Wow, and it made you kind of all windswept and interesting. But now I don't think it has that same cachet anymore. It's just
yeah, I think it's outside of particular circles, it's kind of almost looked down on. I think in a way it's like I say, it's like, what are you doing? I'm doing philosophy. Or apart from what's that then? It's it's a bit of a waste of time or whatever.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think it's because people don't see the immediate application.
So I want to kind of want to kind of reach in there and show that actually there is practical stuff. Well, not if not so much practical, but real world, worthwhile things. We can look at philosophy. There's loads of problems in the world right now, everywhere, and I think philosophy is there up for grabs. We can use it. It's like a tool, and the idea is to try and put a more positive spin on it.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's just we're on a hiding to nothing here, because we could end up at the end of this series of podcasts thinking, you know what, it's pointless. I don't know even why we bother. We've entirely wasted our lives. Yeah.
What have I done?
It's like having some sort of referendum and then suddenly find that the vote goes the wrong way.
Yeah.
Happens, right? So have you got any so have you got any particular arenas that fascinate you about philosophy's practical application?
Yeah, so my first thoughts, as we discussed, is like agony aunt or something like, or self-help. But then I thought, it's a little bit limiting. So I guess look at certain themes, real world themes like family. Is the one I think we should look at today. But other things like finances, love life, things like that. People can look at and listen to and grab something that's useful to them.
I mean, some of these discussions have popped up in various humorous forms on the Facebook site. And particularly kind of philosophers and their kind of their advice over your love life. I can just imagine philosophers as agony aunts, and it's just it just depends kind of what newspaper you're reading. And you get people are writing in dear Emmanuel, I'm finding it very difficult to meet the right person at the moment. What is your advice? And Emmanuel Count would just say, look, just don't. Okay, it's a bad thing. Stop it. It's Diogenes. You want to write into somebody like Diogenes, wouldn't you?
You have to choose the right philosopher. It's like
it's like the horoscope, isn't it?
It's like Nietzsche. Is it Nietzsche who said that? It's like philosophy just props up your own prejudices. So you'll choose the right philosopher you want to get the right answer from.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So yes, you'd find the right agony. I don't know who would you go to for advice? Which philosopher? I mean, I know you're into the Wittgenstein, and that's all fine and dandy. But I mean, if you had to pick a philosopher as a kind of some sort of father confessor or somebody you could go to and you think, you're going to give me solid advice rather than
I think
something kind of overly metaphysical. Who do you go to?
My instinct is to go to the Greeks, because
really?
Yeah, like Socrates, dear Socrates.
Oh God. He
But
just think he just trying to encourage you to just take your own life and just escape, Daddy. Really, go and
no,
jump, Daddy, jump. And then
I
don't.
feel like the obviously they're from a radically different time and world, but I feel like their philosophy seems more. How can I say? It seems more. They are in touch with the real world, even though it's about the unreal world. It seems like it's more. I don't know. I feel like Socrates will be. He lived a life,
Mm.
and he was a soldier and all that, wasn't he? Was that Plato? I forget now. And I feel like he would have practical advice. The Greeks would have like kind of practical advice for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was very much. I mean, it was a kind of a lot of the Greek stuff, no matter how sophisticated it looks when you're reading it, is a kind of proto philosophy because they were tackling questions that hadn't really been tackled systematically before. And so you are getting the kind of you are getting them tackling the kind of the nuts and bolts of human existence. What is stuff? What is existence? How do we know stuff? How what's the good life? All those kind of real sort of primary questions. Whereas as philosophy develops, it starts to kind of become more rarefied as it starts to focus on minutiae a lot more. So I can see what you mean, that if you go to the Greeks, they were trying to understand kind of the nature of life and and human existence. And there was a confidence there as well in the great Greek thinkers. There was no kind of dicking around the edges, going, oh well, maybe this, but then possibly that, then maybe this. Well, we'll have to think about it. No, this is it. This is the truth. You get an absolute, solid, no quibbles piece of advice from your Socrates and your Plato's and your Aristotle's. So even if it was wrong, you go away with a confident kind of spring in your step, going, yeah, I've got an answer here. I can't be hiding away in my room all day, assuming that what I see flickering on my bedroom walls is the real world. I need to get out into the world and live my life. Get Plato saying that to you, that might be a game changer, mightn't it?
Well, yes, exactly. And we kind of need that in a way, don't we? We need that kind of certainty. You're like the modern world and postmodern philosophy and all that. It seems like loads of different avenues to take, lots of different answers, and if you want some solid advice, then maybe that's not the kind of advice you'd want.
Yeah, and we are. I mean, I think and again, it could just be our position in history at the moment. I don't know, but we do seem, as a kind of a modern species, riddled with insecurity and lack of confidence. Students I deal with lack any kind of confidence. They're kind of subsumed by imposter syndrome a lot of the time. That I shouldn't really be here. I shouldn't. I'm in the wrong place. I'm not good enough. I'm not, and all that kind of stuff. And how do I know? And to encounter somebody who is just and this is possibly why some of these the kind of the demagogues who have risen up of late in political spheres, maybe that's partly why they've been so attractive to a lot of people, because this is kind of, well, these are no nonsense guys. These guys will just tell it how it is. I mean, they might be talking bullshit, but it's kind of in the midst of we're not quite sure. I mean, just simple things like I don't know what you should eat. I get really confused on what you're allowed to eat these days. We kind of moved away over the years from kind of fattier foods, and it's kind of okay, well, you don't eat a lot of butter, and move away to kind of stuff that's kind of like now I read an article the other day saying butter's great. Slap it all on, have as much butter as you like. It's some of these other substitutes that are kind of bad for you. Don't have the substitutes. Olive oil. I thought olive oil is a good thing, and I had read something that maybe olive oil is not a good thing. Maybe you should go back. And it's kind of sooner or later somebody's going to tell me that kind of lard, this animal lard is going to be the good thing to do. To eat that, stick it on toast as your grandmother used to do, and that'll be fine for you. I just want somebody to kind of tell me, look, this is what you should be eating. This is what's good for you. And
we want an absolute answer.
Yeah, and I think the Greeks were more kind of confident in doing that than
it reminded me of that Woody Allen film, sleeper.
Mm.
He's like a health food guy, isn't he?
That's right. Yeah.
He wakes
Oh
up in the
gosh,
far
yeah.
future and is
Yeah.
getting offered cigarettes.
Yeah, and they said, "Oh,
We
we
found
discovered
out
that
they're good for you.
yeah, they're good for you." Yeah, and high fat was really, really good for you. Oh, you lived in a time when tobacco was supposed to be bad for you. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there is a sense in that. It's kind of, you just don't know really what to accept, what to believe anymore. So yeah, so any kind of philosophical self-help is always going to have that. Why should I believe this? Is there any evidence that this is going to help? And I think to an extent, it's that existential. You kind of suck it in the sea. You kind of try something and see if it works. And it's sort of what, in a way, it's kind of the Kierkegaardian leap of faith, isn't it? It's kind of, well, we don't really know if there's a God. We don't really know if we commit to this particular point of view, it's going to it's going to pay off. All you can do is give it a punt and see what happens. And all the big and in all the big decisions we've ever made, in a sense, well, a lot of decisions are kind of like that. We work with the best, with as much and with the best evidence we have available to us. But even our romantic lives, it's kind of, nobody can guarantee that the person that you've decided to date or to form a relationship with, you can't know for certain, other than, well, I dated somebody like this before and it went horribly wrong, so I'm not going to date somebody like that again. And we did this before and everybody got hurt and upset about it, so we're not going to do that. So you can build on prior experience, but prior experience, as we know from Hume, is not a guarantee. Just because something has been the case, just because you dated 10 people who've broken your heart, and they've all been of a particular kind, doesn't mean the 11th person is going to break your heart. The 11th person could be something entirely different. There's no law here. It's just custom and habit. It's happened so far this way, but next time, says Hume, might happen differently. Even if we're building on experience, it's not enough. So you've just got to give it a go and see what happens. And then if it works, well, it works. And if it doesn't work, it's like eating, it's like you try to get your kids to eat something. Like, try it. No, I'm not going to like it. Try it. It's going to be good. No, you can't convince them. It's an existential leap. They've got to put it in their mouth and chew it. And sometimes, eat it. I think it's got to eat something 3 or 4 times before it starts to impress itself on the palate. I don't know, something like that. And then eventually, oh, actually, that's not so bad. And you made all that fuss about not eating that, yeah, but I didn't know about it. Well, of course you didn't know, because you didn't try it.
Yeah. So it's like what was I going to say? Yeah, it's like being a parent as well. You really have to stop yourself from thinking that your offspring are going to like and think the same way that you think. It's difficult, and you have to stop yourself from almost like forcing your opinions on them or forcing your views on them.
Yeah.
And then allowing them to make their own decisions.
Well, that's why, when you're talking about family, this is why you get the likes of I find it's tricky, actually. You get the likes of Plato, for example, saying, well, producing kids is not that difficult. It's for the most part, mechanically, I don't want to get into the details because I think we're all grown-ups here. I think we know the details. But mechanically, it's not too difficult to get. You don't really need you don't need a manual. It's fairly straightforward. How babies are made. We kind of understand that. But the whole process of bringing them up is an absolute minefield. I think anybody would deny that. And this is why Plato says, well, we can't afford to take any risks here in the forming of any kind of perfect society like the Republic. And he talks about this in the Republic. We can't afford to have. Well, we can't afford, for example, to have. We can't afford for you to make any mistakes. We can't afford for you to bring up your kids poorly. And not everybody is an educator. Not everybody necessarily has a kind of a philosophical outlook on the nature of reality. Not everybody's gone through and thought very carefully about ethical systems. So, there may well be some very well-meaning people who have brought children into the world, and they are not in the best place, most of them. to educate them, to be part of, and to help to create the ideal society. So it's all seat of your pants. And so when your child tells you, you know, which way should I vote, and is it appropriate to do this, and should I behave in this way, what basis do you have for giving them some sort of response other than just making it up and winging it on the basis of, you know, stuff you've seen on TV, perhaps smattering of your education and personal experience? So, you know, Plato says it's too dangerous. You know, society, you know, the republic is made up of these individuals. These are the building blocks of the republic, and the republic is all. I mean, that's the key. You could poison the republic. You could poison the ideal society by allowing ill-equipped people to create the raw resources for the republic. In other words, the children. So, ideally, we should take the kids. You know, kids should be given over to the state.